The most important thing with nonfiction is an SEO book title.
In this video, you'll learn how to market your book, including how to optimize your title and cover from Joanna Penn from thecreativepenn.com. Listen to the end to hear the biggest misconception about writing books for a living. If you want to write books for a living, grab the free How to Earn a Full-Time Income from Writing Books, which is a starter guide that's linked in the description below. What are some of the key ways to market and promote a new book that you've written?
So people often think that they have to do some clever book title, but what is really good idea is to actually use keyword research for your book title. So I have a book, it's called How to Market a Book. Like, it's not clever. There is no clever title here, or how to make a living with your writing. Nonfiction, it should be very clear what the book is going to do for the reader, because you're not famous. I'm not famous. Malcolm Gladwell can call his books whatever the hell he likes because he's famous. But, you know, most people doing side hustles, you need to do a clear keyword title so that if people type into Amazon, how to market a book, they find my book. That's number one thing, SEO keyword research. Second thing will be your book cover. Remember that people buying books are buying books online generally. You're not going to be selling in bookstores. So what you want is a good title that's easily findable and a cover that is very clearly aimed at your target market. We had an example before of yoga for professional women. Make sure there's a professional woman doing yoga on the front, you know, like, be obvious.
Do you want to stay away from clever and be very clear? Like, how do you balance between the two when it comes to the title and then also the cover?
Yeah, no, don't be clever. Just don't do it, because, you know, why do it? I think cleverness is often for your own benefit. It's for your ego, and your book is not for your ego. Yes, it's lovely to hold your book and say, I made this. But when we come to marketing, what we're doing now is switching from the artist to the business person. We're moving heads. And when you're into marketing and making money, you are the business person. You need to put your ego aside and say, how do I reach these people? And so you can write your clever book another time. But when it comes to marketing and making some money, don't be clever. Go into your subcategory on Amazon. So there's lots of different categories. Make sure you're in the right category and look at those covers. So nonfiction is very text heavy. Actually, my books, which you can see behind me, you can pretty much read the titles, you know, very clear wording with one image, which I model on Malcolm Gladwell, the kind of big title, one small image. Different subcategories do different things. There are two main aspects of marketing that are the same. What you've got to think is the book is just like any other product. So the same marketing you do for the yoga mat, you would do for your book. So paid advertising, so you can use Amazon ads, the same you do with physical products. You can use Facebook advertising, you can use email marketing, you can use content marketing. All of the things that apply to any small business, any side hustle, apply to books. So for my nonfiction, my primary marketing, really, I have a podcast. It's been going 9 years. I have a blog, I have a YouTube channel, and I have Twitter. Those are my main marketing channels, as well as paid advertising using Amazon ads. Just to circle back to the basics, that title, that cover, a good book that's been professionally edited, aimed at a specific target audience that you satisfy with that book, it's going to be awesome. So most authors don't write a book for an audience. They write the book for themselves and they forget about the audience until the end. So your marketing will go so much easier if you just spend that time up front thinking about your target audience.
So I think you're talking about Amazon for a bit. Is that the platform that you need to be on to be a self-publisher, or are there other platforms that you recommend getting on?
Well, there are a number of platforms. Obviously, for America, Amazon is the number one. And at the moment, the USA is the number one digital book market. But what we're seeing is growth in other markets. So I've actually sold books now in 86 countries around the world. In English, we're very lucky. English is the biggest reading language. So, for example, India has 3 times, I think, the number of English speakers than England. And they are educated, middle-class Indians who read. Amazon is actually expanding a lot into India, into the Middle East, into Latin America. Also, if you want your print book in bookstores, you need to use Ingram Spark. I do have a book called Successful Self-Publishing, which goes into all of this in detail, but also iBooks, or Apple Books as they're rebranding. Kobo Writing Life would be the other one. And for audiobooks, it's acx.com. And again, I have lots of free links I can give you for later, because those technical things, as we talked about, those things change over time. So, don't be so wedded to the tools that you forget the process involved. But yeah, Amazon's still the biggest game in town.
Got it. So when it comes to the research that you're doing to not only figure out what title to put on your book, what's the cover should look like, it starts even earlier than that when it comes to what kind of topics will sell. Can you talk to us about that process? Like, how do you, if you want to go down the approach of writing a topic that will be easier to market, it'll be easier to sell, how do you do that research to determine that you found that kind of topic?
I would caution on that. Mainly because I think that this goes to the fundamental idea of what a side hustle is. As someone who really hated my job, I could not bear the prospect of building a business that I hated. What would be the point? Like, you might as well just stick with your day job. So I know it's tempting to do things just for the money, but seriously, you will flame out. You will hate it. Like, what if you're massively successful and then you're doing something else you don't like? So I would say to people, don't start with what will make the most money. There will always be people who actually love the niche who are going to beat the hell out of you anyway. So even if you find some tiny niche that suddenly goes nuts, I just don't think it's worth it. Maybe I'm further along now, but I just think, do what you love. Pick a niche that you love and you will be able to sustain it. So thecreativepenn.com, my website, I'm coming up to 10 years. I have thousands of blog posts, hundreds of audios and videos, and I'm scheduled 6 months in advance with my content because I love this niche. I love it, and it's very hard to beat me in a niche that I love because I just can't help myself. So that's what you've got to think with this whole side hustle game. If you're just doing it for the money, it won't last. You've got to do it. And also, it will be difficult because you don't go from 0 to 6 figures. It takes time. So really focus on what you love first, then dig down into that niche. There's however many, 6 billion people on the planet. There's enough people who love what you love for you to find a niche that you love and also will attract people who will pay you. And there's a wonderful article by Kevin Kelly who talks about 1,000 true fans. And even with something like Patreon, or Patreon, as Americans call it, you can find fans there doing something you love and make money from the tiniest niche. So please start with what you love.
So that's clearly a big misconception then with what kind of books to write. What are some others that you found that is a big misconception about writing for a living?
I think the massive misconception is you write one book and you make $1 million. That's not true at all. I think it's some ridiculously small number of people make a living only from books. Most authors have multiple streams of income, and the average income, there was just a study in the UK, the average income for a British author is just over £10,000, which is about $13,000. And that is really sad. Also, the average number of books sold of any book is between 500 and like 2,000. So what we tend to hear in the media is the outliers, the people selling hundreds of thousands, hitting the bestseller lists. But being a writer is like any other niche, right? You have to build a career. You have to build a brand. You have to help other people. You have to keep putting books out. So yeah, as I said, I have 28 books in multiple niches. And the people who are making decent money with books have a number of books in the same niche, often in a series, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and they're consistent. They keep producing over time. Or it's a bit like podcasting. If you do one podcast, then 6 months later you do another episode, no one's going to stick around. So it's very similar with writing books. So I think there's a lot of myths, but what I would circle back to is, if you love reading, if you love books, this is truly the best time to be an author in history. It really is possible at this point.
Thank you so much for your time, Joanna. Where can the audience go if they want to learn more from you?
Sure, come over to thecreativepenn.com, pen with a double N. I also have the Creative Penn podcast and YouTube channel. And if you have a question, just ask me on Twitter @thecreativepenn.
Thanks for watching. If you want to earn a living from writing books, make sure to grab the How to Earn a Full-Time Income from Writing Books starter guide, which is linked in the description below. If you want to learn more about other side hustles, make sure to check out the other videos on other side hustles over here.